The National Football League is known for many things: massive hits that get a crowd up off its feet, breathtaking big plays that can span the length of the field, huge kicks that can turn a team into a Super Bowl champion. But perhaps the most thrilling thing in an NFL game is an absurd catch, one that makes fans say, "How did he do that?" And if it turns the game on its head or even ends it, and it's an extremely important game to begin with, even better. We've seen all of that and more throughout the decades. Hail Marys, to impossible grabs using any part of the body, to absurd bounces that changed the course of Super Bowls, to a ridiculous one that all but won the big game. Here are the craziest catches in NFL history. Two GOATs going head-to-head is always exciting, but when one of the most entertaining wide receivers to play the game makes maybe the best catch of his career against another GOAT, well, that's just crazy. We're talking here about Randy Moss, who in the second quarter of a Patriots game against the Jets pulled off this absurd one-handed grab on none other than Revis Island himself.
Brady goes for the big ball to Moss. He reels it in with one hand.
From one of the GOATs to another, DeAndre Hopkins gets bonus points for mossing three players in the end zone to call game. It was Cardinals versus Bills, and it needed a great scramble and throw from Kyler Murray, but the QB's efforts wouldn't have mattered had D-Hop not somehow grabbed his pass over three defenders for the win.
DeAndre Hopkins! Miraculous!
Years after, another Pittsburgh Steelers number 10 made an even bigger catch in the corner of the end zone. More on that later. Martavis Bryant pulled off the seemingly impossible in a playoff game against the Cincinnati Bengals. In the third quarter, Ben Roethlisberger threw a 10-yard pass to Bryant that could have been ordinary, but the defender did just enough to mess with one of Bryant's arms, meaning the receiver had to pin the ball to his leg while pulling off a flip and still somehow maintaining control of the pass. What? On a rainy Monday night in the year 2000, the rival Green Bay Packers and Minnesota Vikings went to overtime and had one of the weirdest endings you'll ever see, thanks to one of the wildest catches you'll ever see. It was almost a disaster. Brett Favre's floated third down pass was almost intercepted by Chris Dishman. Receiver Antonio Freeman even fell down making a play on the ball. The ball slipped through the DB's hands, but he was certain he had broken it up and forced a fourth down. Except it landed right on the back of Freeman, who picked up the ball without it ever hitting the ground and ran that final 15 yards into the end zone for the walk-off winner. This was less crazy for the individual effort and more crazy just for everything else. In an early 2012 game, with the Seahawks trailing the Packers by 5 and no time left, Russell Wilson threw a Hail Mary toward Golden Tate, and he came down with it. But so did MD Jennings of the Packers. One ref signaled for a touchdown, the other signaled the opposite. That they were replacement refs during a referee lockout did not help matters. Eventually they gave the TD and the win to the Seahawks, but the controversy was so big that the lockout ended 2 days later and the regular refs returned. A catch that would have been even more famous if a certain call had been made 2 plays later. Jermaine Kearse still made a crazy grab that almost won his Seahawks a Super Bowl. Late in the fourth quarter, with the Seahawks trailing the Patriots in Super Bowl 49, Russell Wilson threw it to a well-covered Kearse, and wow, how was that a catch? No matter the answer, it was 1st and goal at the 5. Imagine if the Seahawks had given the ball to Marshawn Lynch at the 1. 2 years later, the Patriots had their own ridiculous fourth quarter catch while trailing in the Super Bowl. This one came from Julian Edelman, who somehow kept Tom Brady's tipped throw off the ground and gave New England a key first down while trailing by 8. 4 plays later, the Patriots did run it in from the 1, and after a 2-point conversion, they tied the Falcons in a Super Bowl they once trailed 28-3. You probably know what happened in overtime. It was just the first half of Super Bowl 10, but Lynn Swann made a catch that was arguably as impressive as the previous 2 on this list. Throwing from his own goal line, Terry Bradshaw sailed the ball all the way to the 50, where Swann tipped it to himself and caught the ball falling down while under heavy Dallas Cowboy coverage. The Steelers went on to win the game, with Swann scoring a 64-yard TD in the fourth quarter. That wasn't a bad catch either. It's a catch so famous it has a classic nickname. It's a catch so crazy that one camera alone couldn't pick it up. Some conspiracy theorists say it wasn't even a catch. The Immaculate Reception has it all. Trailing 7-6 on a 4th down with 22 seconds left in the 1972 AFC playoffs, Pittsburgh Steelers QB Terry Bradshaw scrambled around, then threw the ball deep toward John Frenchie Fuqua, but it bounced off the helmet of hard-hitting Raider safety Jack Tatum, allegedly, and right into the hands of Franco Harris, who ran all the way into the end zone for a 60-yard game winner. Questions still surround this play about whether it bounced off Fuqua's helmet and not Tatum's, which according to the rules at the time would have made the pass incomplete, and whether Harris caught the ball at all. All of those make this classic play even crazier. Luck, skill, a bit of both, doesn't matter. One catch gave the New York Giants the juice to shock the undefeated New England Patriots in Super Bowl 42. It shouldn't have even been a throw to begin with, as QB Eli Manning was almost sacked on this 3rd and 5 play with a little over a minute to go and the Giants down 14-10. But Manning escaped, heaved the ball down the field, and David Tyree, who caught only 4 passes in the regular season, well, he did this.
Oh my God, this ball's thrown and Tyree just goes up for it like a basketball.
4 plays later, Plaxico Burress scored, and Tom Brady's dreams of an unbeaten season were dashed, all because of David Tyree and his helmet. This is quite arguably the best catch ever when you consider the situation. The situation, less than a minute to go in Super Bowl 43. Pittsburgh Steelers down 23-20 to the Arizona Cardinals. 1st and goal, Steelers at the 6. The crowd at Tampa's Raymond James Stadium and the audience watching all over the world knows they're about to see an epic finish. They just don't know what it's going to be. Ben Roethlisberger drops back and targets Santonio Holmes, who's just caught a 40-yarder to get them in this position, and Holmes fails to come down with the football. Thinking he won't get another chance, Holmes' name instead gets called again. Big Ben's pass is perfect. Holmes' catch is even more perfect. Somehow, he manages to get 2 toes down in the corner of the end zone. Game-winning touchdown. Pittsburgh is now Sixburgh, and they have Santonio Holmes' incredible catch to thank for it. Before we get to the big one, let's do a speed run through some other crazy catches that we haven't talked about so far. Like this clutch, high degree of difficulty grab by Mario Manningham in the Super Bowl, or Casey's John Baldwin catching a ball using a Bronco defender's back, or the Browns' Gary Barnidge using his legs and feet to catch a touchdown. The Giants' Roger Lewis somehow making this sliding grab in overtime. Joe Juravicius tipping it high in the air to himself for a touchdown. Cole Beasley catching the ball with his back and somehow staying in bounds. This Hail Mary, or this one, or this one. And how about not 1, not 2, but 3 Aaron Rodgers Hail Marys? We could go on, but let's get to the best one ever instead. You knew this was coming. Probably the best pure catch ever made. Odell Beckham Jr.'s ridiculous one-handed falling backward into the end zone 43-yard touchdown grab for the New York Giants in the 2nd quarter of their game versus the Dallas Cowboys in November of 2014 is still a highlight you can watch over and over and over again. Not only did OBJ snag a deep Eli Manning pass for a touchdown against an arch rival, but he was interfered with on the play. Didn't matter to an unparalleled athlete like Beckham, who was even practicing this type of catch before the game. Afterwards, the reactions poured in, and pretty much everyone seemed to agree. That's why we saved the best for last.